Now, what really intrigues me about what our guest today has to share is getting into some of the uh, secret dirty areas of website conversions and website revenue generation, and also how we integrate artificial intelligence into our design and our conversion rate optimization. So this is going to be pretty interesting. I I get approached by these topics all the time. I can't accommodate them all, and I look for something that's going to be unique and give you, as the listener, an edge that a lot of your competition is not even speaking about. So this is another in a series where we're going to dive into that. His name is Arsh Samrawala. Let me just tell you a little about him. He is the founder and CEO of ThrillX, which helps businesses succeed through human-centered design solutions. ThrillX focuses on building websites based on qualitative data through surveys, user testing, user recording, customer interviews, quantitative research through heat maps, scroll maps, A/B testing, and ultimately leveraging human psychology and behavioral science. Now, candidly, I remember a lot of this stuff from 10 years ago, but it has evolved considerably. So I, like you, am looking forward to finding out what is current, trending, and exciting about this. Not only am I the host, I'm going to be a student in the front row taking notes along with you. So, Arsh, come on in. The weather's fine.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam, for having me. Very excited.
You bet. Now, I just read off your official bio,
Yeah.
and some of that is so intriguing and impressing. I'm not even sure I'm worthy to be here in your presence, and this is my show. So before we get into some of this stuff, and what I really like about is we're going to have a chance to geek out a little bit. I love that part. I don't get to do that often enough. We like to pull back the curtain. And I'm asking you if you could tell us in your own words a little something about your journey that's brought you to where you are today, serving business creators from your intersection of your brilliance and your passion.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, as you said, I'm the founder at ThrillX. We are a UX UI design and conversion optimization agency. So, we'll do everything from not only websites, but also mobile apps, dashboards, really anything digital, and helping companies from that strategy to the design to the development phase. So, my introduction into this industry, my background was originally in business and marketing. I pivoted my career into UX UI design, worked at several large companies, including doing some design work for some Fortune 500/1,000 firms. And Adam, I realized that even these big companies don't make decisions based on data. Surprisingly, they like to throw things at the wall, and a lot of things are based on guesswork. So from day one, our core mission has always been data-driven design and leveraging analytics for, every decision, no matter what digital experience we're ultimately building.
Okay, for one of my websites, I use the all-in-one SEO plugin, and I got to tell you that it was one of the proudest moments of my life. I got an AIO SEO score of 100 out of 100.
Right.
I
Yeah.
I was like, wow. Now I understand where a lot of that comes from. It has to do with sentence length. Uh, use of transitional words is actually a really big one.
Yeah.
I usually am not satisfied with an AIO SEO score of under 90. I thought it was quite an accomplishment to get to 100 because that's really hard. I've had a few of them over the years where it said it was 100, then I clicked publish, and all of a sudden it dropped down to 83.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. And definitely, like, just for context as well, we do offer SEO services, but that's a secondary aspect of our business. First and
Right.
foremost, it's definitely on the conversion optimization side. So, we always use the leaky bucket syndrome, right? You get all this traffic to your website, and if you're investing in an unoptimized website through SEO, through Facebook ads, through whatever channel, and it's not optimized for conversions, it's like putting water into a leaky bucket. So we make sure that the fundamentals are solid first, and that always starts with the existing traffic coming to the website, right? So
Yeah.
one of the tools that we use is Hotjar or Microsoft Clarity. They both have free plans, and we talked about Crazy Egg as well, right? This idea of heat maps, recordings, click maps, And also combining that with qualitative data, there's a tool called User Brain where you can run remote test on your website, right? As low as $40 a tester. So I could have you go on my website and ask you a series of questions like, what's your first impression just by landing on the site? Now I want you to scroll. You can click anywhere. I'll get you to go through a series of tasks and basically see how you navigate on the site qualitatively, right? So it's a mixture of those two things that we really focus on. And then SEO and all of these, SEO plugins and AI tools, 100% agree. People get so fixated on, the metrics, but fundamentals are very important to get first and make sure your site is actually optimized to convert that traffic.
Yeah, I've been saying for years that the last thing you need or want in your business is traffic to your website. In fact, if you are getting it, you should probably get rid of it.
Exactly.
Now, see, you chuckled knowingly. I have said that on stage. I've said that on webinars. I've said that on podcasts, and have had people ask me if I have an off the rack tinfoil hat or if I had one custom tailored.
Right.
What I mean by that is traffic to your website. What does traffic mean? Traffic is the reason I work from a home office, to avoid traffic. And what is a website? I mean, that could be a branding site, a sales letter, a scheduler, a discussion forum. All those things and so much more can be websites, and a
Mhm.
website can consist of one, more, all of those things. So what I encourage people to do is to focus on visitors to their web pages who are in alignment with the 3 Ps of website conversions: pre-qualified, prepped, and pumped. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm renaming the concept for added clarity.
Yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, when it comes to the question of when you have too much traffic, I mean, you can never have too much traffic. It's always a matter of quality of traffic coming to your site. Then you would go into that conversion optimization phase, which is what we do for a lot of our clients, where we're creating custom landing pages and we're doing A/B testing, right? Where our some of our customers are getting 150 to 200K visitors every single month. So there's so much data to work with that it really makes it exciting.
Right.
But we also get a lot of customers and business owners that are not leveraging data in the first place, right? With all the tools available these days, it's very low hanging fruit to just watch a few recordings, see how far people are scrolling on your website, and really make decisions on that.
Right. I certainly agree with that. And you mentioned that you have folks who don't base their website decisions on data. I can give you a really extreme example, and I would just like to share this with you so you can react to it. Years
Mhm.
and years and years ago, I used to be in the web development business up until about the year 2011. So one of our later clients, before they even came to work with us, went through some branding agency, and they did all the things with getting the logo design and the color swatch and all that happy, cheerful stuff. And they come to us saying, well, we already have we have our logo, we have our colors, we have our concept and all that. And I'm thinking, oh, cool, this will be a relatively easy one. So we build the thing out, and then the client tells us that we're using the wrong shade of blue because the branding was based on a particular shade of blue on a particular hex code. Now I knew we had it right. They
Yeah.
insisted we didn't. And my way of attempting to explain that was I opened up Camtasia, which is another one of those funky tools, and filmed a video where on the video, I pulled up the site's CSS sheet through the view source. And then I also, just to duplicate, logged into their WordPress admin, went to the theme editor section, pulled the CSS, and showed where the hex code for that color was, demonstrating it was the exact hex code they gave us. Furthermore, I opened up Photoshop and sampled several items on their website that were blue and showed using the eyedropper tool that they were all using that blue hex code. It came up accurate every time.
Mhm.
Client didn't believe me. And
Yeah,
at this point, I was already kind of jaded, and this is actually leads to my question. Um, I was kind of jaded on the whole thing, and I couldn't believe I had the testicular fortitude because I didn't think I'd come that far in life. I just typed, whatever, you paid me up front.
right. Yeah, I can't say
So
I've ever experienced that one before.
yeah, so the question that derives from that
Yeah.
is why do so many website owners, website developers, etc.,
Hmm.
base their decisions on website design on something as silly as that rather than using data?
Yeah, I think it's because you have to put it in the context of whose shoes are they trying to put themselves in, right? Typically, these business owners are putting themselves in the shoes of themselves, basically, right? Like in other words,
Uh-huh.
your customer was focused on what he wants on the website, right? What he thinks looks good, what he thinks would work, what he thinks his customers or users coming onto the website would actually like. And that's why we always put the focus on the qualitative feedback using that tool called user brain, where on a call with the client, we can say all of these things that, need to be improved on the website. But the moment that we share that link with them of somebody walking through their website and telling them that, my first impressions are XYZ, I would improve this, I would improve that, that is when it really resonates with them the most, right? Because it's getting that extra validation from people that are actually going to be using the end product. And with user brain, you can set up screening questions as well. So keep in mind that we're not just testing the our client's website with any user. It's specifically their users that we're vetting for, right? People that would actually use their site and interact with their site. So I think that is fundamentally why business owners get so fixated on the minor things and also the things that they think are good, right? But we always try to shift it to a user-centric perspective. It's very easy to get hung up in the technical side of things as well, right? Like my background is not in web development, it's more so on the design side of things. So I've always looked at things from a different lens, but completely agree that you have to kind of balance those two things as well whenever you do any project, right? So it's always putting it in that mindset as well, like things like loading speed, things like SEO. There's so many different things to think about. So yeah, that's why data really helps in providing clarity, right? Like you can ultimately think that X technical solution is, not ideal, but you actually have to look at your Google Analytics and see how many users are on this browser, what's the conversion on that browser, all of these different things. It kind of helps you get clarity.
Right, right. Now, my approach to some of this stuff has changed over the years because one of the things that really frustrated me about being in the web design business is 99 of the percent of the project would go very smoothly, but then the feature creep would almost double over some stupid 1% thing that really only the clients seem to care about.
Mm-hmm.
A more recent example, and this is from maybe about 3 years ago, is one of our clients had this. I guess the best way you could describe it was some kind of ticker plugin, and it wasn't even a plugin. It was like a JavaScript using an iframe embedded into a widget on the homepage of their website that pulled links to articles from one of their blog categories. Now, it
Mm-hmm.
was taking the front page of their website, in some cases, over a minute to load. So now what I want to do is I want to get into what actually will improve your website conversion rates. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, you've shared a couple things in the green room. Like I know you can take a client and have improve their conversion rates to 6% to 8%, which is pretty good. And whereas the average website, as we know, is usually about 1% to 2%. So, what are some of the things and some of the elements that you consider and implement when you increase conversion rates?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think first and foremost, it's understanding the actual mindset of how users interact on a website, right? Let's just take an e-commerce website, for example, right? The goal is ultimately making a purchase of a product, but that is the bigger decision. Before that point, there's all of these mini micro decisions that go on in the mind of a user, right? So, for example, the question would be, what if I don't like the product? Can I return it? What if I have an issue with the product? What is the customer support policy? What is the shipping policy of the product, right? And these are all common examples that anyone experiences on an e-commerce site. But again, it's these micro decisions that people make. And your goal is to try and get to that next micro decision, right? You're checking off the boxes for each decision to get to that ultimate purchase item and purchase action. So typically, we like to think of there's an anatomy of a high converting website, right? And there's certain principles of high converting websites that we do in every build. So the first thing would be messaging, right? This is a thing that a lot of people get wrong, which is as soon as I land on your website, I need to know three things, right? Who you are, what you do, and the part that people miss the most is what's in it for me, right? What's the tangible benefit that I gain as a user from consuming your product or your service, right? If it's a B2B company, do you save me time? Do you save me money with your solution? And if it's a e-commerce firm, how do you benefit my day-to-day life, right? Less pain, better sleep, less anxiety, giving those examples because we've worked with some CBD clients recently. But yeah, making messaging crystal clear throughout the site. The second principle of any high converting site is social proof above the fold. So above the fold means as soon as I land on the website, do you build immediate trust and credibility, right? We often see a lot of clients' websites where their testimonials are all the way down towards the bottom of the page, where we know statistically most people are not going to reach, right? Looking at scroll maps, looking at heat maps, etc. So if you look at any high converting website, right? Slack.com, as soon as you get to the top of their site, it says trusted by, and then they have all of the logos of companies they've worked with. Another example is Mint with Intuit, right? They have like a testimonial at the top, and they also have #1 most downloaded personal finance app. And they also have CY Mint is trusted by over 30 million users, right? As soon as I land on the website. So there is no reason for me to continue scrolling down. It's already giving me a compelling reason to ultimately convert. And then the last thing, which is controversial, but visual design is also a very important aspect. A lot of people will say like, oh, pretty websites, ugly websites can still convert. But there is something called the aesthetic usability effect, which is that if something looks better, it's also perceived to work better as well, right? So things like enough spacing, white space, readability, proper color contrast, visual hierarchy, which is where do my eyes direct to first when I'm reading content. Those are all crucial from a conversion standpoint as well. So all of these elements combined go hand in hand.
It's funny you bring up that last thing. We had a client way back in the day where they actually wanted to split test a sexy website versus an ugly website. The ugly one won.
Right.
Now, this is a client that actually used scientific data. They use Crazy Egg and analytics and several other tools to measure some of this stuff. And they were able to quantitatively say, based on the audience they were seeking to attract, what that audience resonated with, was comfortable with, and what they expected, that the so-called ugly design was the one who would convert better. Now, at the same time, let's also define ugly. It wasn't actually ugly. It just wasn't sexy.
Exactly.
But this is an audience that wanted that more straightforward, quote unquote, plain approach. And ugly didn't mean it was sloppy either. It was actually very clean, very organized, and had digital literacy very much in mind.
Mm-hmm. Very good point. Yeah, that's a clear distinction I wanted to make as well, which is that, when I say visual design, it's more so, for example, color contrast. If you have like black text on a black button, that's just
Yeah,
poor
you
both
can't
UX
read
and UI
that.
design.
You can't
Exactly.
read that.
And same goes with like spacing and things like that, right? If there's too much information in one section, it's very hard for somebody to focus on one thing at a time. There's cognitive overload. That is generally, again, as a best practice, quote unquote, going to impede the user experience. But ultimately, you should always test these things and get, to your point, data to validate them as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that absolutely. So what I want to do is I want to jump ahead a little bit and
Mhm.
get some of the best practices you recommend when it comes to landing pages, such as opt-in pages, registration pages, sales pages, and things like that. What are you currently seeing in best practices right now that, generally speaking, cause these types of pages to have higher conversion rates?
Yeah, for sure. So when it comes to landing pages, I'll kind of go step by step, right? The first section is always the hero section, right? At the very top of the website.
Uh-huh.
And what we always tell prospects when we're doing website audits is that statistically, 60% of people never scroll past the hero section on average, if your value proposition is not crystal clear, and you don't have those elements I talked about, like social proof above the fold. So that means on average, 60% of people may never see all of the content you have underneath that, all of the services you offer, your form, all of that information. So number one is making sure, again, value prop is clear, that three-pronged approach I talked about, and answering the what's in it for me. And then also balancing that with social proof above the fold. Just to give a concrete example of, that value proposition. So if you look at toggle.com, like TOGGL.com. This is
Uh-huh.
probably the best example. Simple time tracking to save you time and make you money, right? That's their headline. Subheader is bill accurately, measure profitability, manage workloads, and spend less time on it all,
Yeah.
right? So it's crystal clear. I know exactly what I can gain. And they have a testimonial as soon as I land on the site. So that's the first principle of any high converting landing page, is nailing that hero section.
Toggle. Now, as of this
Yeah.
recording anyway, and it may be different if somebody's listening to this weeks or months from now,
Yeah.
I'm getting a hero image that does have, or a hero area that does have that headline you described, time tracking that's easy, powerful, and frictionless, which I like. To the right-hand side, what I actually see is sort of like a manufactured screenshot of what the analytics dashboard of a Toggle user looks like. Then underneath, it says time tracking software to boost performance and get paid for every billable minute. An intuitive tool that makes time tracking painless for the entire team. So I see that they're clearly optimizing for the phrase time tracking software. That part I already figured out, because
Yeah.
I see time tracking and time tracking software and software mentioned 3 times between the headline and the subheadline. Now, underneath, I see a pink button that says start tracking for free. And then to
Mm-hmm.
the right of it, a black button against the purple background that says or explore toggle track. So
Right.
I'm also picking up right away that their strategy is to get people hooked on it by letting them taste the free version,
Right.
get integrated with it, and then they're not going to want to part with it when it comes time to pay up. And then right
Yeah.
underneath that says trusted by over 5 million users across 120 countries. And
Mm-hmm.
I see a list of some of their marquee clients.
Yeah. Sorry. I think I just realized I was using the wrong page example. It was toggle.com/track. I was looking at one of their other landing pages. That's the
Oh,
one I always use.
you're looking at a landing page. I was
Yeah.
looking at the home page. And
Homepage.
actually,
But you can,
yeah,
principles are the same though, right? That's the funny thing.
forward track is actually very simple, and it's
Yeah.
substantially that same headline.
Mm-hmm.
I see to the right, which I believe on the mobile version may be on the bottom. I see an animation that shows what toggle looks like when you click it to begin tracking your time. A testimonial underneath, as you said, and
Mm-hmm.
it gives people 3 ways to sign up for Toggle Track by using their email and password, using their Google account, or using their Apple account. And again, underneath, trusted by over 5 million users over 100, across 120 countries. That
Yeah.
same list of logos of their marquee clients. And then underneath, there is a sales letter, but the hero image is so tall that you actually have to scroll down to see that there's a sales letter there. So I wanted to ask you, what if anything is the science behind that? Or is it just that they need to get so much in the hero image it was just longer?
Yeah, well, I think the goal for them is ultimately getting signups, right? So you can see how they've optimized for that in the hero section where they
Yeah.
have the email and then the password, and they also have sign up with Google, sign up with Apple. Again, they're just streamlining that whole process. Another website would be Segment, right? For your audience, if you look at segment.com, just going to verify to make sure it's didn't mess that one up. Yeah, so if you look at segment.com, like they have your work email at the top, right?
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, as soon as you type in your email, it opens up the rest of the form. So this is
Let me
called
try that.
progressive disclosure, right? Where you
Oh,
show
son of a gun. Yeah. As soon as I start typing my email, the name, phone number, and company name
exactly
fields appeared. What is that called again?
progressive disclosure. So
Progressive disclosure. Okay.
yeah. So it's the idea of showing simple information first and getting people hooked, and then gradually showing them more information, right? As they go through the process. Because if you think from a friction perspective, just putting your email is way less
Mm-hmm.
friction than having to submit 4 form fields at once, right? So these are all these, small little things that make a huge difference when it comes to conversions. And you can see how they've done it here as well.
Right. Right. Okay. So where does first of all, I need you to define something for me, and I think as
Sure.
soon as you do define it, I'm going to say, duh. Can you define what UX/UI design means?
Yeah. So on a simple level, UX is user experience design, and that is typically referred to how something works.
Yeah.
UI is user interface design. That's referred to how something looks. Now, in our books at our company, we like to combine the two, and we often think that good UX is also good UI and vice versa. Good
Right.
UI is also good UX. Because again, going back to that button example, if someone can't read a button, the color contrast is low, that's not only bad UI, but that's also bad user experience as well for a prospect coming onto the website. So good color design is good UX design. Good typography is good UX design. That's our view that they're intertwined together and it's not one or the other.
I see what you mean. Now, how does artificial intelligence play into all this?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. So one of our clients, basically, they have on their product page, they used to have 5 different product bundles. So, 1 pack, 2 pack, and so on up until 10. And we saw recordings of users on the website either choose the lower priced option, so the 1 pack or the 2 pack, or they would exit the website. So, using our own judgment, and I'll also get into the AI part, we determined that this could be due to the paradox of choice, right? This idea where you give people too much choice, it equals no choice at all. So we experimented and ran an A/B test with instead of 5 bundle options, we put 3 bundle options. We
Right.
saw a 56% bump in conversions and a 13.5% bump in the average order value. So not only are people ordering more, but they're ordering a higher value as well. And
Okay, so
yeah,
let me just make sure I understand this before you go
sure,
further. You reduce it from 5 options to 3 options.
correct. So we did the
Okay,
1 pack, 3 pack, and 5 pack.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, go on. I just want to
Oh,
make sure I had that right.
yeah, yeah. So 1 pack, 3 pack, 5 pack, and then before was the 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10 pack, right? So 5 options to 3. Um, and the tool that we use is called FigPi. That's FIGPII. And they have an AI portion of their tool, which will actually get you AI driven insights automatically. And then it's actually vetted by someone from their team as well. So using FigPi, using that insight we gathered from actually, our experience in analyzing recordings and analyzing data, we were able to come up with that hypothesis and then execute the test.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with the idea of offering people three options where, according to a lot of the theories out there, the middle option is actually the sweet spot and the thing you're trying to sell. Now, one of the debates is whether the middle option should be like right in the middle between the basic option and the premium option,
Hmm.
or if the middle option should be like three-fourths of what the premium option is, but be priced at about half the premium option to make people feel like they're getting a really major deal. So, just in
Yeah.
your experience, what are some of the discoveries you've made in terms of how you position those three offers and how you price them
Yeah.
and how you make it so that one particular option is the actual attractive one.
Yeah, for sure. And this is actually the perfect example as well to touch on that. So, Adam, we've tested it all. Like we put the 3 pack above as the first option. We've also done descending pricing, so 5, 3, and then the 1 pack underneath it. We've tried different pricing options as well. And all in all, some test of one, some test of also not one. Keep in mind when we're doing A/B testing, right? We're doing 50% of traffic to one version, 50% to another. So it's very objective, and we're running this for 2 to 3 weeks, given our clients' traffic. Now, I think the biggest thing we've learned is more bigger picture than, testing like different bundle options and different pricing. It was actually putting the bundle options further down on the page. So with our client, their product is actually perceived as very expensive relative to other solutions in the market. And this is where the data part comes in, right? We actually interviewed customers. We asked them these questions. What do you notice on the page? And everyone got fixated on price. And
Uh-huh.
so we realized that in order to incentivize more conversions, we want to build more trust as soon as somebody lands. So before you even see the price, you have to go through 6 to 8 video reviews. You have to go through a carousel of all user generated content, of influencers using the product. You have to go through a couple paragraphs of benefit driven copy, scannable icons, and then only once you get to the bottom, you'll actually see the price towards that top experience. That's the idea of there's no best practices, right? Like if we had just
Oh,
gone with the price at the top, um, it's every brand is different, every company is different, every audience is different. And so that was the most interesting piece of insight that we got from that.
yeah, that is something right there. So I want to repeat something you said, that
Sure.
what you discovered about best practices, there is no best practice.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
exactly.
that kind of that kind of blows a hole in the whole funnel hacking thing. Uh, not to keep going back to stories about 15 years ago, but a lot of the growth in my first business came from people who led or owned masterminds who wanted to refer all of their members to my company. And what happened way too often is I would speak with some of these prospects, and their vision for their website simply consisted of, well, just make one just like that person who ran a mastermind. Make mine just like theirs. Just change the color and put my picture on it, basically. What you might say is, again, the only best practice is there is no best practice. And is it possible that that approach is actually valid?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword for sure, right? Like going back to the button example, like if you can't read a button or the color contrast is too low, then there's definitely some element of best practice there, right? Because, you have accessibility, you have to meet certain guidelines, laws, whatever. There's going to be best practice there. But when it comes to like actual testing of ideas, specific ideas, like going back to the bundles, the 3 pack above or the 5 pack above, there is no best practice when it comes to that, right? Because every audience is different. But that insight that we gathered, which was move the product bundles lower down on the page, that hypothesis alone, we ran several tests based on just that hypothesis. And we got a 90% bump in conversions cumulative across all of the different tests that we ran.
Wow.
So you can actually run so many tests just based off one piece of insight and one piece of um, one hypothesis. Ultimately that can carry you a lot way.
Yeah. That I mean, what if to me that's one of the biggest takeaways that I'm getting from my
Mhm.
conversation with you. It's not about what the correct answer is. It's more about how you apply the tools and how you use your methodology to
Yeah,
determine what the answer is without attempting to pick a winner in advance.
exactly.
So we've come a long way from my initial story about that client who believed that their entire business would be made or broken over a particular shade of blue.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Adam, to be honest, like we used to get customers like this too early on. And I think the clear, the big pivotal point for us is we're just very clear, like this is our value prop, which is data-driven design, basing everything based on actual data,
Mm-hmm.
and conversions as well, and being focused on that. And I think once we, communicate that with prospects that if you just want a pretty website, you can probably get that done for cheaper than us, and with another vendor, right? Being completely
Right.
honest. If you're looking for a website that actually generates revenue, is optimized for conversions, is based on data, then we would be a good fit. And so the clients trust us a lot more, and all of those micro decisions, they still happen for sure, no doubt. But there's more trust in that whole process as well. And they let us, focus on what they also care about as well. Because at the end of the day, business owners, the website is just, it's more than a website, right? It's ultimately fulfilling that business goal.
Yeah.
Once we drive that point home, I think it makes for a much better collaboration.
So, as the final question,
Yeah.
how are we going to convert more of these people to the data approach?
Yeah, it's one I'm still trying to answer myself. It's always a, constant education thing, right? Like we've uh, I like the word that you use, which is convert. And we're just having more and more conversations where people think they know what they want on the website, and they say, oh, I really
Mm-hmm.
love this animation and this thing and that thing. And again, it just comes down for us, case studies, like showing where a client's business was when they started with us and where they were after.
Mm-hmm.
It also depends on, you know like there's nothing wrong with just wanting a pretty website too. If it's just informational, that's, completely fine. Like if you're a nonprofit firm and you just need your website to educate prospects, that's completely fine as well. But again, it doesn't always translate to like having to drive revenue. We just identify what's the main goal of your site. Is it to get purchases? Is it to get leads? Is it to educate? And then how do we do that? Right. That is the core question that we always try to solve. So I know that didn't answer your question about converting, but we're always trying day by day to educate. And that's always what we've done. I think our website audit has really helped with that as well. When we do an audit of a client site for free, we go through their site, walk through messaging, walk through design, walk through everything, and really try and educate them on these are your competitors that are also doing all of these things, or these are industry leaders that are also doing these things. That's why it's also important. Um, yeah.
All right, so fantastic. Now, as we conclude here, what I want to do is I want to make sure that folks know where to locate you and to extend an invitation to visit your sites and check things out. So your website, of course, is it's thrillxdesign.com, and I'm going to spell that for folks. It's thrill, THRILL, with the letter X after it, and then the word design. thrillxdesign.com. And this is basically a website about how you take the data-driven approach to websites. So people can go there, they can see some of your case studies. They can actually see some of the best practices, although you said that the true best practice is there's no best practice, but some of the things you recommend
Yeah.
for clients to do, you can see exemplified on your site, which I think is great. And I also wanted to make sure that for those who are interested in the website audit, that they can simply go to thrillxdesign.com, and in the navigation, they're going to see a link to a website audit. Essentially, what happens is you go there, you sign up for a free 30-minute conversation that is part of the free website review and strategy session. And that's where they can find out where some of their opportunities are for improving their CRO, or conversion rate optimization. So with that, Arish, I want to thank you so much for being with us today. It's been an honor, and believe me, an education.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam, for having me. Had a great time. Thank you.
Closed doors, I'm a fool for your love.